Welcome to our devotional study today. Today we are looking at the end of Revelation chapter 9. We've already seen the reaction of the sixth trumpet as it is sounded for us and the judgment that ensues. And now we are looking at the response. And it's amazing to see that even in the midst of all of this, that man will not cry out to God for mercy, and that man gets harder and harder in their sin. And we see that. We've already looked at verse 20, but let me read verse 20 of Revelation 9, and then we will cover verse 21 today. If you haven't listened to the previous day's studies, I encourage you to go back and do so because it will help you in understanding this. In Revelation 9, verse 20, it says, "And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts." So as we come into these verses today, there's several things that I want us to look at and to understand together. First of all, we saw as we looked into verse 20 yesterday, that man is depraved in his worship. And we saw the evils of that. But now as we come into verse 21, we see how that man is depraved in his works. And of course, we're seeing every one of these things that are mentioned in this chapter we're seeing today. But it will get very much worse as we get into the tribulation period. So it seems that there will be a significant increase in wickedness in the tribulation period. John here uses 4 words to describe the moral condition of the sinners living during the tribulation. So let's consider those 4 words briefly. First of all, he says, "Neither repented they of their murders." Friends, it's hard to imagine a civilization being more murderous than our civilization is. Hardly a day goes by without us hearing about several murders in North America and even here in Canada and in our part of Canada now. Large towns and small, no place is immune from the blight of murder. People kill others out of hatred or lust every day. There are hitmen who will kill someone they do not even know if the price is right. They don't kill for hate, they kill for profit. Then there are serial killers, people who roam the country killing total strangers for their own perverted reason. They simply kill for thrills. On top of all of that, there are the abortionists. These people commit murder every day, and they are protected by the laws that we have here in North America. More babies have been sacrificed on the altar of convenience and personal rights than the total number of people that were killed in all the concentration camps of Nazi Germany. You say, why are things this way? Well, we've taught a generation that men descended from monkeys. We've taught a generation that there is no God to be accountable to. We've taught a generation that every person has the ability to determine what is right and wrong for himself. Our children are raised up on a steady diet of godless humanism, and they have no thought for the rights and the property of others. Just look at how rude and violent people have become. Revelation 9:21 teaches us that the tribulation will be marked by murders, which tells me that the violence of mankind will increase after the removal of the saints. But then also we see the word sorceries here. That sorceries comes from the word pharmakia, and of course you recognize that word. We get the modern word pharmacy from it. There's really 2 possible interpretations for the use of this word in this verse. First, as we've already seen, the tribulation will see a marked increase in satanic worship. Second, there will also be a rise in drug abuse, and we're seeing that in our world, certainly. Back in the 60s and 70s, marijuana was the big problem, and now we've gone from crack and meth, and I'm sure there's many other things that are even worse and harder than that in our world today. Hardly a week passes without our hearing of a drug bust or a drug-related arrest. Friends, our world is busy seeking an escape hatch from its problems through the use of mind-altering drugs. And this trend will continue to increase as we move through these last days. It will reach pandemic proportions during the tribulation period. It's even possible that the government will resort to drugs to control an increasingly violent population. And then we see that it says they would not repent of their fornication. This word is translated from the Greek word porneia, from which we get our English word pornography. It is a word that was used in that day to refer to every kind of illicit sexual sin. It covers every type of sexual activity that mankind can be engaged in is covered by this world. Friends, our country has already seen all kinds of crazy things as we go through this, what they call sexual revolutions. And we've witnessed the day when things that were not even discussed in public are now as common on our television as a Pepsi commercial. Cable, satellites, and the internet pipe endless streams of pornographic flair into our homes, and network television is just as bad. Children who are allowed to watch TV without adult supervision know more about sex now by the age of 7 than most of us knew when we got married. Friends, our society is saturated by sex. Man has been given a beautiful gift from God, and man has perverted that gift. Now, I'm going to say this again. I know this is old-fashioned, but it's biblical. God designed sex to be exercised within the framework of the marriage relationship. And any sexual expression that takes place outside a marriage relationship involving one man and one woman is a sin, and it will be judged by God. Sexual perversion will increase as we move into the last days. Other parts of the world are confronted with even more perversions than we are here. And friends, it will increase as days go by. And then it says, last of all, they would not repent of their thefts. The personal rights and property of others will have no meaning at all. We're already seeing this trend in our society. As a segment of our population believes that it is their right to take what they want, when they want, from whomever they can get it from. This is the mentality of socialism in our world. So the socialist wants everything that you have except your job. In other words, they want it all for nothing. This attitude will become increasingly evident in the last days, and it will reach terrible proportions during the tribulation period. As food, water, medicine, clothing, and shelter become increasingly scarce, men will take what they want. Friends, the Bible paints a bleak picture of the events of the tribulation period. There will be death and violence on an unprecedented level throughout the world. But in the midst of it all, men will continue to harden their hearts to the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they will continue their headlong plunge into the fires of hell. Friends, that's why the child of God should do everything in our power to reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. No sacrifice is too great. No distance is too vast. No expense too steep, and no effort is too wasted in the work of reaching men for Jesus Christ. As we close this devotional study on Revelation chapter 9, let me just leave a few thoughts with you from this chapter. First of all, friends, if you've never been saved, this could be your future. What we've been looking at in the seal judgments and the trumpet judgments. And I encourage you, if you're not saved, come to Jesus Christ today for salvation. Acknowledge your sin before him. Acknowledge that there's nothing that you can do to save yourself. Believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and that he died upon the cross for your sin. Trust him and him alone for your salvation. Then you can miss the tribulation and heaven can be your home when you leave earth. Second, friend, if you're saved, but you've not been living like you should, it's time to stop playing games. This is a day to get things settled between you and the Lord, and to be at the place that you're not one foot in the world, one foot in the things of God, but you're following Christ completely. Maybe you've just been challenged through all this and overwhelmed by people that you know. Like if the rapture were to happen today, would be left here. And you'd like to do more and be used more to reach men for Jesus Christ. Friends, can I remind you today, God's still looking for laborers for his harvest. And I encourage you to sign up for being a laborer. Pray that the Lord of the harvest would send forth laborers into his harvest. and take those people that God has laid on your heart and simply pray for them that they would be reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Have a great day.